Alright everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we got a 2013 Dodge Grand Caravan, and it's got an oil leak, pretty severe oil leak. Let me show you what it looks like here. It has got the bottom side of this transmission soaking wet. Engine is fine, no leaks there. Let me let it down and we'll get a look from the top side and I'll show you what's going on here. Okay, we're looking at the top side here. This is a 3.6. You can see our oil filter is right here. If you look down in there, you might be able to see some oil in the bottom of the valley there. It's hard to see there. Let's look at the back side of the engine. So what happens is that oil filter adapter housing leaks and it fills this valley full of oil, and when it gets full enough it starts running out and it'll get the back side of the engine, back side of this transmission all full of oil. So this is a common problem with the 3.6. Those oil filter housings leak all the time. They're made out of plastic. The seals are shit. The whole design is shit, to be honest with you. This is the second one this week that I'm putting in. It's cold temperatures which seem to affect them. I don't know if the seals just shrink up and they start leaking a lot more, but I seem to see them a lot more when it is cold out. So yeah, second one this week. It's only Tuesday, so they do have a big problem. So yeah, first thing we want to do is get this coolant drained out of it. And then we pull the intake off here, and once we pull the upper and lower intake off, I'll kind of show you inside there and kind of explain a little bit more on what is actually leaking. This is a cooler. Again, this is our oil filter housing. It is all plastic. The new one we're gonna put in is an updated Dorman one. It's actually all aluminum. I'll show you that in just a minute, but first we're gonna pull this one out. It takes a E8 inverted Torx bit. There's 5 bolts here. Make sure you do drain your coolant, because there is coolant running through this. You don't want it running down inside your oil drain or anything like that. I would recommend also changing oil after doing this job. So let's see if we can pull this off here. The coolant hose is still on there. I'll pull that off as soon as I get this pulled up. There is kind of a nipple that goes down inside the engine block there, so sometimes if you just wiggle it and then pull kind of straight up, just an O-ring sealing that. Just kind of work it around, and then she pops off. Alright. So I kind of wait until I get it up this far, and then I pull our clamp off here for the hose. Definitely replace the hose if it's all oil soaked and soft and squishy. Alright, set that over there. If it wants to leak, it can leak over there. Let's get this pulled off here. So now you can see a little bit better. All that oil fills up and then runs over the end of the block here and out this side on top of the transmission. Yeah, definitely a bad deal. I'll get the vacuum out and we will vacuum all that out. So it's a little bit better. Got that cleaned up. Make sure your sealing surfaces are nice and clean here. Let's check out this new product, and I'll show you kind of the difference between the new one and the old one. Okay, so here's the part number for the new one. Let's open the box here. This kit pretty much includes everything. You do have your directions here. You have all the seals for the intake, upper and lower, for the oil filter housing, all those seals. You have a cap. There's a warning on this cap because it takes a different filter. It changes it from the old filter style to a newer filter style. So they make it nice and orange with a little warning on there to not try and put the wrong filter in there. New bolts. You got new bolts for the cooler. The cooler is redesigned also. You can tell the old one is a little bit different. The way it bolts on, the flange is a little bit different. So we got that. This is just the oil filter. I'll open this up. This is the newer style oil filter. The older ones didn't have this nipple on it. It was just basically a filter like that on both sides. So that's why this is a new updated filter. That's why this cap is orange, to let you know to use this filter. Now we have the housing itself. I can get this open with one hand. Alright, so that's what it looks like here. This is the nipple that goes down into the drain. There's just an O-ring on there. You have your seals that fit inside these grooves. You obviously have your nipple for the hose. That coolant hose goes on there. For some reason, if you don't have both of these sensors here, like this one and this one, they do offer, or they do send you a plug for that. But yeah, we're going to use both of those. So we got to switch everything over. You do have to use the old sensors. This one and this one have to be reused. Pretty much everything else can be shit canned because it's junk. Here's a look at the old one here. There's just a lot of expansion and contraction in this plastic, I think, and over time these seals go bad. You're either putting on a new housing, whether it's plastic or this updated one. You know, I kind of got sick of putting the plastic ones on, so I thought, yeah, let's try the aluminum ones. One thing that I do, I will put a little silicone in this channel and then put the seal in. You definitely do not want to overdo that. I don't know if it helps, but I have a feeling that, you know, these seals is kind of what also is the weak point of this. So that just, you know, I put a little silicone sealer in there just to kind of help seal that. I don't put anything on this O-ring other than a little Vaseline. So we'll get this switched over and we'll get this put in there. So we got our new housing here. Sensors need to be put in it. This is the oil pressure sensor. I did put a little Teflon sealer in there. Trying to get the sensor in enough to where it's tight, or snug, and I can get easily at the connector. So I kind of want to index the correct way. This is the oil temp sensor. Again, if you don't have this, this is where the plug would be installed. Again, you don't want it too tight. Make sure that you put it in so you can get the connector tab off there. That's what I would recommend anyway. Intake seals are orange. O-ring. And we'll go on here. We're going to put a little silicone sealer in these grooves before we put the seals in. Again, this is not necessary. This is just something I do. I prefer doing. You do not want any inside there at all. So again, this is a little bit different cooler. It only goes on one way. And there are tabs on here, right here, right here. They match up like that. Comes with all the bolts to install this, so you don't have to buy anything extra. All the seals. It's kind of nice. You will need a, what is this? A Torx 30. All the torque specs and everything are in your directions. It tells you step by step on how to do this. Very simple, actually, not too difficult. These are torqued to 106 inch-pounds. Right, takes care of that. Right now, I'm going to put that oil filter in. For the initial install, I also like to apply Vaseline to the taper in here and the threads. It just makes everything go together a little bit nicer. Let's get our seal on here. Make sure it's all the way in the groove. This one isn't so bad, but I have seen some people, like Kias especially, Hyundais, you'll have this thread with kind of like a groove at the top, and this one, you know, kind of tapers down. But on those vehicles, you can actually, it looks like you would put a gasket in there. They also have this place up here where the seal actually goes, but I've seen people get kind of screwed up on that, put it in the wrong place, and then they have all sorts of leaking going on. So not a good thing if you do that on one of those engines, because it will run out of oil real fast. So when you do this for the first time, it's just, you know, everything's dry. You just got to lube everything up. Obviously, once you change oil on it for the first time, you get oil in the threads. You know, it's not such a big deal. Each seal has its own place. They're different. You can kind of figure out which one goes where. Little one goes right there. Again, this is just the way I do it. I know people are going to say, you don't want silicone on there. I've never had a problem with it. I never had a comeback on one of these for leaking anymore. So that's kind of what I do with them. Just a little bit on that one. Let's go back over to the vehicle and we'll get this installed. Let's move our connectors out of the way. Make sure that these holes do not have any oil, coolant, or anything in there. Again, sealing surfaces are nice and dry. I use a little brake clean that stuff off. And our housing is going to go in like this. Put my coolant holes back on first. Again, just because it's easier to do it this way than when it's sitting in the bottom there. Come on, buddy. Get So kind of work it down in the valley here. We're aligning our drain tube in there. And again, you have some silicone on there, or Vaseline on there, so you kind of work it in. Make sure your connectors are not trapped underneath anything there. We'll plug those in just to make sure they stay there. All right, now we grab our bolts out of the kit. Bolts are all the same length. One there and another one up here. Just kind of evenly run them down. Those bolts get torqued down to 106 inch-pounds also. So that is all installed. We can put our lower intake on right now once we get this all cleaned up. But we'll get that on, and I am going to put some spark plugs in this while I'm at it. I'm not going to show that. It's got 150,000 miles on it. Might as well put a set of plugs in it just for maintenance reasons. So I'll do that real quick, and then I'll bring you back, and then we'll put this intake on. Our new seals are put in here. Those are also included with the kit. Set her back in place here. Let's run those down real quick. These are 62 inch-pounds on these bolts. Alright, so we'll get the upper intake bolted on here. Again, the upper intake bolts are 86 inch-pounds. So I'm going to do that, and once we get her running here, I'll bring you back. Okay, so another thing I want to mention here, when you get this job complete and you go to fill it with coolant, make sure you reach down here and you turn your bleeder screw. Kind of hard to see in there, but that bleeder screw, you have to open it up to let the air out as you're filling the coolant. Close that off, top your reservoir off, and you should be good to go there. So the job's almost done here. But right now, we got to clean this. She's a dirty girl. Yep, I'm getting everything. We'll let that soak a few minutes. We'll wash that off, and then we can start it up. I think we're done with this one. So thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.